at Jason's Deli just getting lunch. And this guy was having like a breakup conversation or was going off on someone. And every other word was like, and this, and this, and this, and this. And it was comical because they kept getting bigger and bigger. But it was like every other word was like, this, and da-da-da-da. This, and I was just like, this is hilarious. What is happening?
Okay, we're up, we're going.
We're going.
We're rolling.
Hello.
Episode 2 of the Talkies.
Right?
The sequel.
Yeah.
The sequel.
Revenge. Talkies, part 2, Talkier.
In 3D.
Yes. Or
the third episode has to be in 3D.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I see. I'll get right on that. 3D audio. Here we come. I am Jeff.
I'm Sarah Lynn.
I am John Hauser.
And this is The Talkies. Welcome to episode 3. The Talkies is sponsored by Springer Film Institute.
SFI.
You can find out all kinds of stuff about us over there at springerfilm.org.
How are you guys? How's it?
We're good. We had a very emotional weekend, as I'm sure you did, as I'm sure nerds across the world did. But for time reference, Endgame and Game of Thrones came out this weekend. I don't think we have to get into spoilers or anything, but I do want to talk about style choices and lighting, because I think those seem to be the two big things, especially for Game of Thrones. People have been complaining about lighting, but we'll get to that.
I can't see the episode.
Right? There's a reason.
So we're sort of still figuring out exactly like where the show's going to land. But something that came up today that was cool is we had two movies, right? Endgame and movies and Game of Thrones.
It was as long as a movie.
Two game shows that are not game shows. And they both had fight scenes that were kind of in the dark. One was more in the darkier than others, right?
Well, John is very passionate about Endgame, so I feel like, why don't you start off Endgame and I'll take the GOT.
So good.
It is.
It's just amazing, man. All right, what can I say about Endgame? It's a true fan movie. Mm-hmm. It's for the fans, by the fans. I still need to see it a second time, because the first time I was just like a kid. I was like in awe of everything. So I guess I never really paid super attention to like the technicals and stuff.
I gotcha.
But that brings up an interesting point. Okay, so we had two shows. Both had very emotional fight scenes. Okay, we had two very fan bases who were very captivated by the shows, and for both that episode and for this movie, that's like the moment for the fans.
Yes.
After those both came out, only one of those got a loud complaint of, I can't see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was Game of Thrones. And the question that's been raised is the fact that the Game of Thrones fight scene, the fact that it was so dark, is that a thematic thing that is cool and enhances the story, or was it a mistake?
Your TV settings.
Right. I personally feel like it added to the story for me. Like, he is called the Night King, and he brings winter and darkness, and I feel like it really set the tone.
Yeah.
And I get it. Yeah, there were times where I couldn't see what was happening, but I was like, they're really trying to put you in the moment and in the world. The shadows and the darkness really helped enhance the story. I believe it was a style choice as well, just according just to the times and stuff. And then shows like that are meant to like my girlfriend, like we watch that like in the dark. Like you have to watch that. I feel like stuff like that, absolutely.
you got to be like really just like in it. You can't have like a whole bunch of lights on and stuff. No, shows like that, or that episode, when they're doing things like that's meant for you to be in that environment.
I agree.
So, yeah.
It took them 55 night shoots to just do this episode. That's a month and a half in Northern Ireland in the middle of the night.
God.
And y'all gonna complain that it was too dark. Of course it was dark.
I did a quick Google search here, and there's so many articles. So there's Game of Thrones fans complain about too dark lighting in battle. And then Vanity Fair, was that Game of Thrones battle literally too dark? Game of Thrones battle, biggest ever, but way too dark. Here's my favorite. How to fix your TV settings to rewatch last night's Game of Thrones. So what if it was your movie? What if you made something and then, let's say even before the public saw it, let's say that was your intention, you wanted a dark scene, and then you send it out for screenings or test audiences or whatever, and all the feedback you get is, it's so dark that it's taking me out of the story, which I think is what some of the fans were saying. They couldn't enjoy it because it was so dark. If that were your movie, what would you do?
That depends. Well, okay, if it was me and they were like, it's a little too dark, I would, and they probably did test it, with, they probably brighten it up and tested it and just to see what that looks like. And if it does, I know for me, if it doesn't work, I'll try it, but if it doesn't work, it's not going to work. And I already have my intentions for it in the first place, but I will hear you out and go, okay, well, see how it is. And if it doesn't work, I like that example you gave about, like, it's the reason why it's dark, storytelling wise, it is, it's midnight or whatever, like whatever time it is, it's nighttime, and it's really putting you in this environment just like that, and more in a realistic, in a realistic way. I
felt like it added confusion, and I'm not a big fan of like zombie stuff, so I was happy to not see a lot of it.
Well, it was a lot going on. That makes sense. Yeah, confusion. Like it's so much going on.
You felt like how they felt.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the night is dark and full of terrors, and there's so many thematic things.
Yes.
I think also like the time that we watch it as an audience member matters, because if I were to watch this in a theater, I might actually be a little more cranky, because the episode was so long and the sequence was so long where it was so dark that if I were watching it in a movie, I might be a little upset because I have to go back and see it again. But since I'm watching it in our case, in streaming, I can watch it that first pass to feel it. And then if I really was unsure about something, I can go watch it again and comb through those details. Right. Whereas I might feel differently if if I saw it in a theater and I wouldn't see it again until it was out on home video or something.
I get that. I once saw The Artist when I was living with some terrible roommates, and they talked during the entire film. And the whole point of that film is it's a silent film until it's not. So and like it was still great, and I still really enjoyed it, but that really impacted me, really getting to be immersed
into the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, who you see a movie with really matters.
Absolutely.
It can ruin it for you.
I'm definitely one of those people that I do not mind going to the movies by myself.
I used to do that a lot. I really liked it. When we had a dollar theater here, I would go and I would sit and I would watch, because it was so cheap. I could just try out movies and just and try out in the theater.
I get so much anxiety when like I invite somebody else or something, and like because I'm like, be here on time.
Oh
yes,
be here on
Everyone
time.
Goes, oh well, there's trailers. It's fine. There'll be trailers.
It's like I want to see the trailers. I want to see the trailers.
I'm that friend that if you're late, I'm not saving you a seat. Or
No.
if it's like if
You are
it gets
on your
super
own,
packed,
yes.
I can't be that person.
You're that friend where you're like, if you're late, don't be late.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
The first movie I saw in a theater by myself was, I think it was here, and I was the only person in the theater too. So not only was it by myself, I had the whole theater. It was The Hurt Locker with Jeremy Renner. Back before the conglomerate bought out the movie theaters here, they used to do the independent side feature films. Like they had a different,
Really?
Yeah. So like I saw 13 once in high school because they used to have a section of just independent films that would cycle through like every 3 weeks or whatever. And it was really great. And so the Hurt Locker, because I think it did well here, obviously, because it's an army town. But I remember seeing that by myself, and I was like, oh man. And just because it was that, and then I was by myself in the darkness, like in the darkness, it was very overwhelming in a good way. But it was like, it's different than like if I'm going to the theater by myself, but there's other people in the theater versus I have an entire theater to myself with this surround sound and, But.
Speaking of that, we went and saw Captain Marvel after seeing Infinity War, and we went to that same dollar theater that I used to go to that is no
Yes.
longer a dollar theater. And speaking of darkness, it was totally dark, as in they did not have floor lights on.
They didn't. We had to, and like we were like, we can't see anything. But for the previews, they turned all the lights on. But when people were trying to get into the theater,
Speaking of previews, who gets nervous when the previews are not shown at the aspect ratio the film is going
Yes.
to be shown at? Do you go? I go to the projectionist.
I
I'm like,
am
hey.
the let me speak to your manager
Yes.
type of
Yes.
guy when it comes
Yes.
to the theater.
Jeff is that person because he's nicer about it than I am. Because I'm like, it's gonna start, and I don't want you to have like if it starts and you have to switch everything over, I'm not gonna be happy. Jeff is much nicer about it.
I'm
Not
the designated.
I love to hear that. I'm such that guy. Oh my god, I'm so.
I get actual I get concerned.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I'm like, if it's and they say, oh, it's just the previews, it's fine. I'm like,
No, it's not.
But
No,
what
it's
if it's
not.
not just the previews? Because I've had that answer before, and it wasn't.
Excuse
And
me,
previews
sir,
might be the wrong
the
word.
curtains are still like
Yeah.
a little closed, and it's like
right?
I might really
Yes.
mean the commercials, like the screen vision, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of times, usually the preview roll is usually fine. If it's not fine by the previews, then I'm real like anxious.
Yeah.
Because that means like if I have to go say something, when am I going to do it?
I pop up
When
immediately.
the movie starts. Well, no, I'll go. Like I will go, but like if I don't, then I'm like, okay, so when am I going to do this? When the movie starts,
Right.
which means I'm going to miss part of it.
Usually,
right?
the rule of thumb has been if by the second preview,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
fixed.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, hell, even 5 minutes into just looking at it, I'm like,
yeah.
they're gonna change it.
Right.
Last
then,
time I
like,
said something during the
yeah.
commercials before
Right.
the previews.
By that first commercial, then that's when I'm jumping up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, it's
like
not
it'll be
good.
fine, and you're like, I've heard this before.
Right.
Hmm.
And I know, I mean, and this was for Marvel, not for Endgame, because I know, like, movie theaters across the nation were just trying to keep it together because of the sheer volume of people who.
Didn't you see some photos?
Yeah, I saw some photos here, actually, that, someone complained about how one of the movie theaters in town was trashed and whatever, and they were like, well, the cleaning people didn't do anything. And the place responded up, we did. It's just the volume of trash that people left behind. Like, they think that, like, someone will clean it up or whatever. And they're like, there were so many people and so many lines. We were doing the best we can. And, yeah.
Well, no, go ahead.
No, and then people are like, well, you should have been more staffed. It's like, but you can't always staff people. Like, you
No,
don't
that's-
understand. Like, people who've never worked customer service at restaurants who complain about, like, well, you should do this, clearly have never worked in those areas.
Have any of y'all worked at the movie theater before?
No, but I've worked customer service multiple.
Yeah, 'cause
it's the same thing.
The first job I had was at the Carmine 15, and I was working there for some years. And yeah, no, that's hearing people. No, I could. That is not how it works.
But like people
When it's
like just leave their
packed
buckets of
like
trash
that,
cans and
const-
drinks, and they spill it, and it's like,
constantly.
yo.
And then you know what else is going on too? A lot of these theaters are playing in game like in multiple auditoriums,
Yes.
and so all of those showtimes are running against each other. And you got to now we got to run an auditorium 8.
Right.
Now we got to run the. Well,
It's like in 20-minute increments or like half-hour increments because they're trying to get
Yeah.
as much bang for the buck as possible. But like
Yeah.
people can only do because it's usually like what 2 people per cleaning team, if that even. And
If
it's like
that back then, I don't know how they're doing it now. Back then, we had like a crew, like it was at
Right.
least like 6 of us, and so we were able to break off and like,
Right.
and like and split up, but in the case of not having enough staff, and a lot of the
well,
cases,
and you think
like
about
that.
how big movie theaters have gotten now. So like now it's not just one floor like it used to be. No, it's tiered now. You've
Yeah.
got the steps, you've got the thing, and so like
So I just got back from New York. That's where we watched Endgame at, and the theater we watched it in it looked like it had like 7 floors,
Right.
just going up, just different auditoriums.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no.
We'll come back to what you were doing in New York in a minute. I'm curious about that. But there's this post on Reddit that says, I work in a movie theater that is having Endgame shows every 15 to 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the mess we found in one theater. And it's a row and it's popcorn everywhere.
also it's people who snuck in snacks because they've got like Triscuit boxes
Yeah.
and like things
You can't
that
put that
Apple
on the theater.
juice.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you cannot put that kind of that deal. They're literally playing those movies like every 30 minutes. Like
Right.
it's,
And this poor kid in the row on the aisle. He's just crumpled
right. Well, it's like
because he has to
somewhere
clean it
along the
all.
line, people like because I know like people really don't go to the theater anymore. One, it's really expensive now. I mean, I still love going to the theater, but you have to pick and choose which movies you're going to go. But it's also up to you as an audience member to be a good audience member, right? Like, I get, like, sometimes spills happen. Like, that's, sure, fine. But if you just leave your trash, if you just leave your food with the idea of, oh, someone will clean up after me, no. You were raised better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you are responsible for what you do. The cleaning staff is there to help clean if there are spills, but they're not really supposed to be cleaning up after you like they your mama. Like, it's true. So, what?
That's
hey,
funny.
I'm in church.
Anyway.
No, I always recall back when I worked at the theater and Tyler Perry's what was the first movie? Diary of a Mad Black Woman came out, and that
the first Medea, that was
my first. I probably was working at the theater for maybe 3 months. Then, and that was my first big opening night thing, and I remember just like how hectic that was, and just having the IMAX we have now. I feel like it was way bigger back then. And, So just dealing with all of that pressure, and just I remember when Spider-Man 2 came out.
So that means somewhere along the timeline, John, that I probably bought a movie something from you, either a ticket or a drink, or that's cool.
I was definitely somewhere, either in concessions or in the box office.
Was that your first job in the movies?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I when I was a kid, like I told my mom, I was like, when I get of age to get a job, the first place I'm going to work at is at the theater.
So, that's a good little thing. What was everyone's first job in the movies, either like movie adjacent or on set?
Oh, I can tell that story. I got one of those. But before we get to that, I want to continue with John's first story in the biz. I'm curious about what it was like to have been a projectionist. Were you there? Was it hard drives or was it film, or what did you get?
Whenever I was there, we were in film, and I remember that transition into digital when Superman Returns came out.
Oh wow!
And Miami Vice,
2004.
When in Miami Vice with Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell, whenever those movies was coming out, there was like this huge, it's digital now. And
was Superman the first one you showed digitally? That you projected?
I want to see. The first one I did. Dang, that's a good question. I'm not sure the first one, but I do remember putting together the film and splicing. And
that's awesome.
And building a whole.
What? So wait. So when you guys had a film to project, right? I have a lot of questions about this. First off, like, was it anamorphic? Like, if you did Star Wars or something, did you have that like stretched looking piece of film that you had the anamorphic lens that you would fix, or were they all 1-to-1? Or
no?
What was it like?
When Star Wars, I was working there when Star Wars Episode 2 and 3 came out.
Right.
I wasn't a projectionist then. I was working in what was called pop upstairs when you're making the popcorn. But so I don't know as far as that goes. But
the reason I asked is I have one of those collector things from Episode 1, and you would get a piece of projection film. That was the gimmick, and it was an anamorphic piece. So it was when you held the film up to light, the frames you got were stretched and were very, very tall. And then I'm assuming that when they projected it, they had an anamorphic lens that would take that tall thing and put it to short. It's like how I want to learn how to shoot in anamorphic as well, because I haven't done that yet. But like that's how you get those cool flares that are those interesting tall shapes. You know.
I had.
Anyway, so you were projecting.
Yeah, I was.
You were working in pop. You were working in pop.
No, whenever I was a projectionist, I was. Yeah, me and my buddy. Yeah, I was. We were there when we had to build the movie. They'll send you the movie in like 2 crates. These like big like metal like cases, and it would be, I don't know, Smoking Aces, and like Smoking Aces will come in like 1 case, and then it'd be like these 2 like big things of film, and then we had to take it upstairs and put it together.
Did you have to like sign anything? Like
when the delivery guy comes up and does it and sends it to you. But going up there, and I remember splicing movie trailers. You had to put the movie trailers along with it.
Wait. So you had to.
You're building the entire. You're building that entire.
This is kind
showcase.
of a lost
art form.
Oh, of course.
How did look like if you were training us? How did you do that? So you got a case. A case would come in with a movie. Okay. Then what?
Take it upstairs. All right. Now, step by step, how I used to do it, I can't tell you that because I totally forgot. But
what do you remember?
So if it's a huge crate, is each preview in a different crate that you have to glue
sometimes
together?
You'll get like this sheet and it tells you what trailers to put on there. Or sometimes if it's like a premiere trailer, they'll have it like exclusively with that case.
But that's why it's called a trailer, right?
Yeah.
It trails ahead of the rest of the reel, right?
And so you would take that, and then you have to. Damn it! What did you have to do? You had to put it. We had to put it like on this machine where it helped us put the reel together, and this machine hooked up onto like this.
I can tell you're
like
physically
platter.
remembering because you're like, I'm over here talking.
I'm
looking behind me.
I'm right there, and it's like right next to you is like this big like platter, this big like where your movie film goes, and it starts from like the advertisements. And it starts from the advertisements to your trailers, and then you're wheeling all of this together, kind of like putting it together, and you're splicing the trailer, and then you have to go through it.
What are you cutting with? Like scissors, razor blade,
like this,
a cutter?
It's like this like little device thing, like you
designed to splice film.
Yeah.
How do you join
like
it?
the little the holes like on the side. Like, you connect those like on like these like little ridges on it. I'm sorry,
for those of
like,
you
explaining
who can't
it was weird,
who can't see, it's he's using all these hand motions, and it's too bad we're not actually videotaping this because that would be great.
I'm doing a horrible job explaining this, but
we'll get a clip of it.
It really is going through my head, but it's one of those like experiences where I don't know, I forgot about like how to put it together, but I remember that whole era. And
I'm imagining with like a little paste brush, like
right.
Nah, funny story. I remember the longer the movie is, the more cases the movie came in. Like I remember my friend Ed, he dropped Lord of the Rings, and when you drop, that's the thing too. Once you build the movie, that's the thing. Once you build the movie and you have it ready for the next day to play. You put it together on the projections that you're gonna play it in each auditorium and stuff, and then so you have that ready, so that way whenever you come into work, you don't have to deal with that. So,
right.
But if you drop the movie, you have the movie in this like huge platform, and then like if you drop the movie while you're trying to carry it over to the projection,
he is holding out both hands as if he's
it weighs a ton.
As if you could stack two people parallel to each other on his arms.
If you drop the movie like just a little bit, you have to unravel the entire movie over.
No.
You have to unravel the entire movie because it's going to curl up, and there's no
Lord
way
of the
of fixing
Rings
it.
is so long.
Yeah. And there have been times where, man, we got away with so much stuff. If there have been times where like we would accidentally mess up a movie 5 minutes before the movie's supposed to play, and then we're just like panicking to put it together and stuff, and then we had to run down there. Hey, the movie's gonna start 20 minutes late. Sorry about that, guys. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
So with a really long film, did you have to do multiple reels on a projector, or do you just have a giant wheel of film? Or?
It's multiple.
How does that work?
So, like, what happens too? Like, if the film gets stuck in, like the old school catches on fire, what do you?
It's like you build it in like portions. It's like the first half, the second half, and like the third half, and you play the first half, and as that goes, you have to catch it before like the first half ends, and you have to hurry up and connect it with the second one, and then let it go. Let it flow.
Wait, just during a regular screening?
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, here it comes. There's already that little cigarette
You have to
burn.
make sure it was a button. You have to make sure that it would switch over to the second reel, and then
that's like that's film surgery. You guys are surgeons.
Yo, we were
old school
real scientists.
That's crazy.
Like we used to be competitive on like who could build a movie the quickest. Like, whenever I first started doing projection, like, you don't know what you're doing the first time. You're trying to be careful, so it takes you a couple of minutes. Like, The longest maybe 30 minutes, but like I used to can build a movie in like at least 5 minutes or less. Like just and boom.
That's nuts.
Boom.
That's awesome.
So, but
I've burnt a film before in the middle
so like,
of
what
like
do you? What do you do when that happens? You
Okay,
just
so
have
the
to, like...
the one time this happened, it was you get those like those church films that comes out, those like religious
Yeah.
type of one note movie that comes out every
did
now
you
and then.
burn a religious?
It was an accident. They were premiering. What movie was it? Fires? No.
Firestorm?
Fireproof, I hope.
Fireproof.
Fireproof. That was one of the first Kendrick Brothers big hits.
Fireproof.
He burned
And,
Fireproof.
I wasn't even scheduled on this day. The original guy, he couldn't make it, so I was asked to come in. So, long story short, I remember they had like a little premiere in there. This church was in there. I think one of the producers was even in there, and it was my dumbass fault. I wasn't thinking as the movie was going. I forgot there was something that was wrong with the screen, and I was trying to fix it. And while I was doing that, I accidentally lift the this like I forgot what it's called, but it's like this like little tray that exposes the light onto the film, and next thing you know, it just goes. And then I look down at the screen. You can see in the auditorium, and then I just see it do that. I felt like it was a Grindhouse movie or something. It literally looked like that, and then I just see the producer and my manager like just jump up, and they just run out of the auditorium, and they come running upstairs, and I was like, "I got it, guys!"
Is that the day that you left?
No.
Projection?
I was not to sound full of myself, but I was one of the better like projectionists there,
Right.
despite that story. But
That happens.
That's a heck of a movie to do.
That's funny.
You should have named it something else, guys.
Fireproof.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Digital era. That was. I remember. Yeah, going.
So
through that
then,
phase.
what happens to all that equipment? Like, did they just get rid of it or sell it? Or?
Yeah, they just stashed it.
Wow. So then you move over to carts of some sort, some sort of hard
the
drives or
drives,
something.
Yeah.
Less
That was a little
heavy,
bit
I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot easier. Just put it in a computer, and you still had to put the movie together as far as like what advertisement to put on.
But it's
put on
all
there,
software?
what trailer. Yeah.
That sounds boring now.
So I mean, like, are they still even doing that, or does it just?
They're probably
come?
still doing that.
Okay.
They're probably doing it like that. It's probably more enhanced now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they send the entire movie in like one piece and then it just go.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Sarah, what was your? This is a good question you asked. What was your kind of first experience in film? Your first film job?
My first film job. So I started taking film, like acting, in college, and it was my senior year. And there was an audition for a film in North Carolina at I think it was like UNCG Chapel Hill. And it was a student film, but I was like, I'm really into film and I want to get something. And it was for one of the leads. And I auditioned and I got it. But because I had been doing theater for so long, I still kept projecting even though I was mic'd. And I think it was called, oh gosh, what was it? I think it was the movie was called Wit's End. And I don't think it ever saw the light of day, or it was just a student film, and I never got to see it. But I played this dumb Southern Belle. Like, I haven't been playing that for a long time. But I didn't know anything about film. I was like, I'm just going to be an actor, and I didn't understand. I understood action, but like rolling and sound rolling, I was like, what do I go now? Oh, I don't go now. And like, the sound people hated me because I was so loud. I was like this loud, obnoxious character, and I didn't understand the scale that you have to do when you're being mic'd, because I had been from the world of theater. And it was raining that day, and we were out in this. It was like a place like Westville. It was like a historic place out in North Carolina somewhere. So there was like historic houses, because we were reenactors. And the story was like we were reenactors, doing reenacting stuff, and just the drama that happens when you're a group of actors being reenactors, and like you have people come in and out. But there was, at the end of my filming day, there was supposed to be a food fight with butter, because I was churning butter. And so by the end of the shoot day, from head to toe. I was just covered in butter in the rain. It was good, but I that was the moment where I realized I could do this. I'm sure, like, when I'm on a show at some point, that's finally going to make its way to the surface and come back and haunt me. Like 2 other films I've done that have never seen the light of day.
Right.
But, yeah, it was really great. It was a great experience.
And was that a paying gig? I don't remember. Or was it just a try it out gig?
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I don't
that's fine.
think it was a paying gig because I feel like I think I just went for the experience, or they paid me like gas money or something.
But then when you were out west, you did a couple of shows. You did some web series stuff. Do you want to talk about any of that?
Yeah. So, well, the first.
'Cause that was still early, right? So that kind of counts, right? It was pretty early.
Well, after college, I went out west to California, and then Portland. But I started getting. I used to get auditions because I didn't know anything from Craigslist, and the market in Portland was still small enough that people were still posting gigs online. Some were for not industrials or commercials. Some were for those other types of films, and I was like, oh no, that's nothing. So I'm out west, and I start booking industrials, which I didn't think of it at the time. I was like, oh, I'm just happy to be working and getting paid. But I would say the biggest production I did out in, there's 2 out in Portland, were I did a fan fiction piece, and I played Superior Girl, which was like Power Girl, but Superior Girl, because I had auditioned for Supergirl, or whatever her name was, but they were filming in Arizona, and they're like, oh, well, we're doing the sister piece in Portland. And they were like, yeah, it won't be a very long day. You know, we're going to shoot in the evening, so like 5 o'clock call time. And said, okay, sure. I thought I was going to be done by like 9 o'clock, not realizing that we were going to have a full day. So like I had like gotten up early, went to the gym, did all of my normal stuff, and like then got to set thinking, oh, this will be done in like 2 or 3 hours. No, I was on set for 12 hours. We wrapped at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was in these stiletto heels. And because I have a physical theater training background, I'm also really good at combat and whatever. And so it was me doing my own stunts in this like leotard where I had like a wedgie for the majority of the time. But they paid me. It was my first big paycheck as an actor that I got on my own without an agent. And I was like, what? Nice. And then I auditioned for a series, a web series, before web series were really like the thing to do. And I got a supporting character. And I was going to be a lead character in season 2, but they couldn't get the funding together. But it was a really great experience to be on set and to realize that I was like, wait, no, I'm doing the thing I want to do. And I just stumbled into it, which I think is really awesome, that you can just stumble into it. Don't look for auditions on Craigslist anymore because Craigslist has changed significantly. You should really go to audition websites, but I answered the call. And then like you start to know people, right? And then they were like, oh, hey, are you available to do this industrial? And I was thinking about getting an agent out in Portland, and then my life blew up, and I came back to Atlanta and got an agent here instead. And then I met you, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, and then it went all...
And then it all went haywire.
I like all went down. That seems kind of...
But
seems
what about you,
That's a fun
Jeffrey?
gig.
What was your first gig into film?
For money? I mean...
Not even for money, just your first...
No,
I mean...
I have a definite line, and it all happened kind of at the same time, and it was a whole bunch of things at once. But it was all the same shoot. It was well, there was a time here in Columbus where 2 films came through. We Were Soldiers came through, and I think The
Fighting Temptations.
I auditioned for We Were Soldiers as just auditioned. I didn't audition. I applied to be an extra. I stood there and had them take my picture. That didn't happen, which is weird because like it did for everyone else in town.
I was also not selected, but I also didn't stand in line because my mother said, no, it's a school night.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, we were different ages.
That's true.
But I did, the same thing happened when Fighting Temptations came through. And that, I don't remember where the extras casting happened. I guess it happened in Atlanta. I don't even know how I heard about it. It was just, just extras casting, whatever. But it was my first thing. And I played an inmate played.
You were in that scene?
With Beyonce, which I didn't know who she was.
Can I blow your mind for a second?
Yeah.
I was on that set too. Well, not on.
Were you in that? Were you at Quarry Tower?
I was at when they shot at the River Center at the.
Okay, I have a story about that.
Yeah.
I have a story about that. We're getting there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Good. So the scene I shot was in Atlanta up at Quarry Tower. They called it Old Quarry Tower at the time. I know where the new one is, but I thought it looks the same as the old one to me. So I don't really know.
You were in a scene with Beyonce?
No, I was an extra in a scene with Beyonce. I didn't know who she was.
Okay. No, but that's
at the
still
time.
exciting.
But it was. But what happened with it was, I got that sort of extras boot camp thing happening kind of all at once. I didn't realize how long those days were. Right, I was reading The Two Towers at the time, and I remember being in a tent in the mud, in prison outfit. My dad drove me, and so he ended up hanging out all day in the parking lot. And it was my first experience going in. I didn't know what a first AD was, but I saw the first AD like running stuff. Like there was this guy running stuff who was not the director, which was fascinating. And I remember just like taking it all in. And I remember it being like 10 o'clock at night, but going inside the quote prison and it being lit for day, and that just really messing with me. And I was like, oh right, it's daylight in here. How are they doing this? And it just felt like so magical, and they would do the scenes. And coming out of theater, it was weird to watch because it was a scene where she sings, so the prisoners are an audience, which is like a little theater, but it's wild to watch them do everything, and I can't hear anything they're saying really. Because they're doing film. They're speaking at a normal like film rate. And for me, it was like, why aren't they projecting? Oh, right, of course they're not going to project. It's so weird. And I remember like, I want to know what's happening. And they had this whole huddle scene, whatever. But I met Rue McClanahan the first of 3 times on that shoot, because the first time she came over to the inmates table and she said hello, and she was delightful. And I was like, oh wow, this is cool. And then that was it. That was the day. Okay, great. And then I find out that they're filming in Columbus, and somehow I get on as a PA. So suddenly I'm on the other side of it, right? And so I was working with this woman from Atlanta, and we were driving around, running errands, doing PA work, which I didn't know what PA work was, right? I had a little headset, and I had a little, I was the PA guy suddenly. And it was cool to get to see that part of it. And then I was at Crafty for some reason, probably because I didn't know to not be at Crafty. And I met Rue again, and she was delightful. And we had this whole chat over Crafty, which was really fun and weird, and like, okay, weird. And we were at the hotel down here, what's the Hula Hands Hotel?
The Marriott.
The Marriott, which was called something else then. And some of the leads got on the elevator, or we knew they were going to get on the elevator or something, and the other people was like, okay, look, no, just be cool. They're going to come in. You just don't say anything. I'm like, okay. And so they come in. And they go out. You know what I mean? And I don't remember if it was her or someone else. I can't remember. I don't think it was Cuba. I don't know who it was. And then I held the door for Rue on her way out to her car, which was fun, which was the 3rd time. And then I remember I was there working the River Center shoot day, but I was locking down the lobby. So I was there as a PA working the lobby and stuff like that, helping
Did
make
something
sure
happen during this day of filming?
No. There was a big, the final act of the movie, right? It's a big concert. Yeah.
Oh, that's where they shot it.
And my mom and dad were there. So
That's
they're in the
adorable.
audience as extras. So I'm in a movie with my mom and my dad, which is cool. Because I've seen my shoulder in the inmate scene. And then mom and dad are somewhere in that. And then now I know you're in it. And like a lot of people in town were in it. Yeah. But yeah, so I was there in the lobby that day that you were working.
That's
fun.
insane.
Yeah, so that was neat. And then like the weirdest thing ever was that you get that check. And it's like Paramount Pictures. And you're like, this is weird.
I remember that. Oh,
yes.
Man, I remember
yes,
all that.
right? And
if
you're
anything, that's my first experience, like in film. Like that was my first experience. My mom, she got me out of school that day. And I just remember all of us and the other extras just being in this tent for like a long time.
Forever.
And then, and then they sat us all down, and that was just really amazing to see.
Isn't that just the coolest thing? Like when I get checks from Warner Brothers now, and I'm just like, I don't say it other than to share how weird an experience. You will all get checks from Warner Brothers one day. Whoever's listening, you will get those checks too, and it will never not be weird.
Yeah.
To open up an envelope and go,
Right.
okay.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I did a thing with these people.
Yeah.
Well, it happened.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty. I enjoyed that first.
Yes. I just thought it'd be nice.
Jobs. That's pretty nice. Have you ever done a 24-hour film festival? I've always wanted to do one. Be on a team.
I was telling my girlfriend that I'd like to go to more film festivals this year. Like,
but have you ever, I meant I misspoke. I meant a 48-hour where you go and you get with the team and you create one overnight.
No,
I've always wanted to.
I always want to do the Atlanta one.
We have a lot of friends who do it as actors, and I think we could get a team together. So if you're interested in being part of the SFI team, hit us up in the emails or the comments.
One thing about me, I lack experience in working with a team on whether it be on just shoots in general. For me growing up, it was I just had my friends to rely on, or I would just be in it myself. Yeah. But other than that, that was just kind of like my build up to I guess what I'm doing now.
But doing the 24-hour or the 48 film festivals is you get to pick your team, so it's like, who do you want to spend 2 straight days with that you guys can turn something out, and if I can hang out with you for about 12 hours, and I could do a 48-hour film festival. I know I could do it with Jeffrey, because that's basically what we do now in our life.
It'd be fun.
But it's because even though you say you're not good at working in a group, you find where you fit. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, I have a great eye, and of course, I can run camera. Great, awesome. If someone can run sound, and you just make it work while you have 2 people running in the background trying to make hold things together with duct tape and dreams.
And I like to I think I know. As of right now, I know what I'm good at. My whole deal is just that I just never had that resource like that. Mm-hmm. Now I know a couple of cinematographers and stuff like that, and I know that now. But just starting out, I was just very much I don't know who to. Somebody help me, please.
Oh yeah, I think about all the things I did as an early actor into film, all the things I did wrong that I'm like, oh no, no.
I'm interested, John. How did you build your chops? How'd you grind? How'd you advance your levels and advance your character? I mean, you're pretty heavy into production now, so how'd you get there?
Dude, I watch movies. I study movies and stuff, and then I kind of just I take certain techniques, or I just apply that eye or whatever it is that I'm making, and I just apply it on that. But
how'd you even start? Why did you even start?
Just doing videos in general?
Well, yeah, at some point I mean, now you have clients and stuff, but
Well, we kind of talked about in the first podcast a bit, too.
A little bit. Well, then don't let me rehash. We already talked about it.
No, it's as far as I guess where did I start? It really comes down to that lemongrass commercial, really.
That's right. Yes,
that's
I remember
the one
that.
that really.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Once that happened, then it was okay, well, let's see what else I can do.
Oh, okay. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking about between steps, even I mean, was it just like that? Boom, I'm shooting a commercial. I'm a projectionist, and now I'm shooting a commercial. Is that how it happened?
It kind of was. I mean, I really just picked up the camera just because it was just one of those things where it's I think I can do this. I think I have a good eye for certain things. I know I know I have weaknesses and stuff, but I do know I can at least pull off a shot. And it was just one of those things where it's just all right, well, let's see if I can do it.
Right.
And
I think just
learning
the bravery to try.
Yeah, it's literally that's honestly what it is.
When I think about too, it's like in the acting game, it's really hard to become to break into getting a SAG role unless you've got some credit behind you, because but then once you book your first SAG role, like speaking role, day play or whatever, then it's and then you start getting more of those auditions. It's just sort of, you just got to keep doing it, and you got to keep at it. I think it's just persistence.
It's you don't even really think about it. You're just putting out work after work after work, and it's just whatever catches on, it catches on, and then you don't even really pay that attention when it does catch on, and because you're so busy just creating more and more.
But Jeffrey, you have a really interesting story about how you beefed up your reel. Like, I mean, with the student films and stuff that you've done, which I think you should totally talk about.
Well, if you're in West Georgia, and if you're not, in Atlanta, I mean, nowadays, I don't know what the student film scene is up in GSU, up in Atlanta, but I imagine it's pretty.
It's getting, like, you see it all the time in Actors Access and casting.
I imagine it's different now than when I started.
Correct.
But rewinding a little bit, because I do now remember why I even got with the extras gig back in the day, is I was teaching at Academy, and every summer we have this theater academy here, and every summer I would teach something or teaching assist something, and in my second or third year, I ended up being the on-camera teaching assistant. Mm-hmm. What?
Nothing.
No one's going to know.
No, I remember, because we did our versions of Star Wars, and with the masks, and Johanna was Yoda.
I don't remember any of that, but...
Oh, and you made a spaceship.
I don't remember
for us. It's fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
But we did... But I was an on-camera TA, and we had these two film people from Atlanta. One taught one half, and the other taught the second half of the 4 weeks, because we were there for 8 weeks. And they were both very intense and very career-minded, film people, And they had agents, which was insane to me, and they understood I hate type, I hate the whole idea of it, but they were into it, and they were this woman's I describe myself as medium pretty, and I have distracting teeth. I was like, wow, this sounds terrible. Anyway, but I remember I taught with them, and they were just it was this level of ambition that I was really attracted to, and this level of possibility that they saw that really interested me, where it's yeah, we can do this, because why? Because we're going to do it. And we're like, oh, okay, how does that work? What do you want to be? How do you see yourself as? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to, get theater acting gigs or whatever. There's movies. I can do movies. What? And so then I started actively looking, and that's how all that happened. But after that, sort of fire was lit, where it's oh, okay, this is awesome, and I could do this. Atlanta wasn't what it is now, but 3 hours south of here in Tallahassee, of all places, is Florida State. And I wasn't going to college there or anything, but Florida State has an awesome film program. It is amazing. You walk into that casting area, and there are Oscars and Emmys on the shelves, right? It's awesome. So I said, you know what? I want to be an actor. I need an agent at some point. I want to do films. I need to learn how to do films, because I don't have a clue. So I would drive the 3 hours to Tallahassee. Still will do that if I want to. I still recommend it if you're in this area, because of how well they treat you, which I'll get to in a second. But you go, and if you've not done it, you go, and these students are casting their films for an entire semester or quarter or whatever they do now. I think it's semester. You go, you audition. They have sides. A lot of times they're not the scripts that they'll be producing, because they're not written yet. So there'll be sides from other movies or scripts they did prior years, and they put you in a book, not a real book. You know what I mean? Your video's on file.
A digital library.
Yeah, sure. And through the year, as they're casting, they look through the tapes, and then they'll call you. And so I did it. I didn't think anything about it. And then I got a call over the years a few times. And what I was impressed with is their work ethic and how well they treat you. Since I was coming in from out of town, they put me up either sometimes in a hotel or sometimes at someone's house, which was fine. But more often than not, a hotel, not an amazing hotel, but good. Wow, okay, great, because they can fund it.
Their way. Yeah, they're going out their way to do
it. Was yeah, they're not paying you, but we'll put you up, and and that was awesome. That meant a lot,
right?
Because that's money that's not coming out of your pocket, and you feel like they care, and that makes a difference when you get on set. And my first movie that I was in was called An American Girlfriend. It was a directing project for some student there, and Christine Yoon, I think. And I did see it, but I don't think she liked how it came out, because I cannot get a copy of it. It was shot on 16 millimeter, Super 16. It was shot on Super 16. which is a version of 16 millimeter, if you're not familiar with it, where they get more frame by cheating into the sound strip somehow. I don't really know it, but I think that's how Super 16 works. It's so you can get a 35 millimeter-esque look out of 16 millimeter film. It's pretty cool. Anyway, but it was shot on film, and they would say exciting things at the end, like check the gate, and like I found out what that meant, right? And that was kind of cool. And I did enough student films there where I got to watch them go from check the gate on a film camera on Super 16 to, we got to wait for the red to reboot because it got overheated. Right? And I think that was probably the last one I did there was on this red, and it got too hot and whatever. But with the exception of that one time, they were always really good about getting me footage. Really good about it. They would get me footage. They put you up in a hotel, and you're invited to this big screening they do of all these projects.
That's awesome.
So as an actor, you get to go, or as a filmmaker or as anybody, you get to go be in the room with all of these kids that I now learn go to California, and almost everyone I worked with, they're working. Mm-hmm. Like they are legit credits.
Right.
And a lot of the actors, same thing, right? Some are Tallahassee locals, but a lot of the actors are there doing the same thing. They go, and so for one night, you're there and you're watching the screening with all these people that want to be filmmakers or actors in film or in film production somehow, and it's this awesome networking event in the best way, where it's like you're all there for the same reason, and the people that you do stay in touch with, it was just really great. Mm-hmm. Use that to build a reel, submit it to agents, and didn't hear back for a year. Because I was on the trash can. I was on the bottom of a pile of a trash can somewhere. And then I was living in Florida, this whole thing, and then I get this call from Atlanta after a year submitting, and where I stopped submitting, and they're like, hey, we found your photo in the trash can. And I'm like, what? They're like, well, we bought the agency. This is Atlanta Models in Town. We bought the agency, and we were going through old submissions, and we found yours, and you want to do something? And we're like, yeah, okay, great. And then life got weird, and I made some mistakes, and I adjusted very quickly, and then I started booking. So anyway, that went on a little long, but yeah,
no,
it's okay. That was good.
I was in it.
Do we have any final thoughts?
That sounds like we're in a good stopping place from this week. We can talk about awkward first job mistakes, I think, another day.
I think so too.
Do we want to do a sign off of any kind? Like, I'm Jeff, and don't spoil the mayonnaise.
I'm Sarah Lynn. Cry over spoiled milk.
I'm John Hauser, and film yourself crying over spilled milk.
Sure. We'll go with that. All right, good.